Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, where we talk about video games and sometimes how they're made. I'm Max, and with me is our own resident scoundrel, my co-host Sema. Hello there, Sema.
I love that you think of me as a resident scoundrel. I'm gonna keep that one.
I guess, yeah. I mean, is it? Are you really a scoundrel if you're just like always there on time, very well prepared, and just very reliable?
Inside, I'm a scoundrel.
Yes, a scoundrel at heart, Sema. We will be talking about scoundrels today. I should have said our resident crafts person, because we'll definitely be talking about that a little bit today.
I'm
too.
like 10% of a crafts person, but not
Really?
for lack of
That's
trying.
because it's so deep in War Within.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're gonna have to explain it to me because I am way out of it. I didn't do any of the crafting in the previous expansion, Battle for Draenor, for
Dragons. The dragon battle.
for dragons and Draenor and shadows and lands, whatever it was. Yeah, but first we can talk about some news.
Good news, everyone!
First up in the news, top of the news. Nothing really to report on the video game development side for Contemplation Games. We are doing a bunch of stuff. It's been so fun. And what I was thinking that we would do, as soon as I get the rest of the social feeds set up, and they're not even all set up for the studio, I don't really care about the social feeds for the studio, but we'll put some things on there. And once the game goes live, the game is going to have its own set of social feeds, and that's where we're going to focus our attention. But contemplationgames.com has a link to a couple of them so far. I thought one of the things we would do is some introductions of who the team is that's working on stuff, because it's such
I would like to see
great
that.
people. And one of them in particular, and maybe I'll do it in the order of the people I sort of connected into the project. One of them, he lives in my neighborhood. Tyler Jones is our 3D modeler. He's got his own IMDb page. It's like serious business. I knew he was in the business of visual effects for Hollywood, and he hasn't updated this in years. Apparently, he just finished working on another series that wrapped up. So he hasn't updated this in like 5 years, but he's got like a page of credits in IMDb. This is so cool. I was like in awe. I'm like, so you're kind of a big deal, aren't you?
Stranger Things.
So yeah, this is super fun. We'll put some of that on the Contemplation Games, social media feeds. For Twitter, everything is taken. You can only use like 15 characters. So like Contemplate Games, CG Games, CG Team, CG Games Team. Those are all. So we had to it's like
NYC City.
CG button head face 12. That is the Twitter handle. So you can find us there. I think it's CG Studio Team. I think that might be what I went with. You could get the link off of contemplationgames.com. That's one I have up there so far. Anyway, in other game news, more interesting game news, very interesting game news. This was crazy. This is a crazy story, and I did want to talk about it for a second, which was this deal with Concord. Has everybody heard about Concord? No. Which is part of the problem. Yeah, so Concord was basically Sony's answer to Overwatch that they've been developing for 8 years. So that's one problem. And then they decided that we're going to do, okay, here's my bold plan. We're going to do no marketing at all. And we're going to charge $40 where all of our competitors are free.
Right.
And then they launched the game. And nobody bought it. And then 11 days later, they said, yeah, we're going to refund everyone, just straight off the top. Everyone gets a refund, and we're shutting down the servers, and we're going to reset. So we don't know what's going to happen. They may end up going free to play also, but this has got to be a case study.
But I mean, even free to play, they're going to have the same. Like, I personally asked the question, okay, it's Concord, so why would I play you instead of like an Overwatch? But like you say, no marketing, so there's no answer out there to that.
Exactly. I don't know. I don't know what they do differently. I don't know what else they bring to it, because they're also now releasing right before the Marvel version of this, which does have their own twist and their own answer. So Overwatch is the king of this hill, even though a lot of people like left Overwatch and said Overwatch is dead to me and I hate Overwatch now. When like the new season model came out and they didn't do the PvE things that they had initially kind of promised, and some of their characters were like locked into some of the like the pay battle pass things, people really got mad at Overwatch. However, Overwatch is still runs this genre now. They're the big dog.
But I mean,
Marvel-
yeah, even if there's people out there who don't like Ford trucks, if you want to come up with a new truck, you still have to compete with Ford trucks.
Yeah, right. If only 8 million people are buying Ford trucks this year instead of 10 million, and you want to, you're still going to be up against the Ford F-150 if you want to start selling pickup trucks. And you can't come out with a pickup truck that costs that breaks the
more.
mold, whatever. It's
Yeah, right.
It doesn't like Overwatch's animations and characters and the style of their characters. It's all super unique. It's their own IP, and you gotta admit that whatever you think of like the Overwatch business model and the battle passes and stuff, that's beautiful stuff.
Right.
It's amazing and beautiful.
Every time I've seen an Overwatch, one of their little movies, it's always made me
Oh yeah,
just really sad that I don't play that kind of game, because that looks really cool.
and sad that they don't do that content separately.
Yeah.
Give me an
I wish they
Overwatch
would.
animated series. Everybody's sort of like demanded that for years.
Yeah.
So Concord said, okay, we're going to have our own characters, but they're going to be less interesting. And our own gameplay, but it's going to be less refined because we've had less time.
And we're going to charge you more, but it's not that much more.
Yeah, we're going to charge you $40. So I don't know what they were thinking. They could have been trying to say it wasn't clear, because again, they didn't market this at all. If they had twisted the whole market on its head and said, yeah, you got to pay $40 up front, but all the battle pass, all the skins, all the characters are all free forever, that would be a different value proposition. And maybe they could have gotten ahead of it from that perspective. But nobody knows. I mean, maybe there's an answer to that somewhere if I wanted to spend an hour trying to do research on this thing, but nobody knows if that's the case, and nobody bought it. I can't believe such a big AAA game in a big genre where millions of people play this kind of game every day, that nobody bought it. I mean, they were like within that first week at like 100, 200, 500 concurrent users. How can you only have 500 concurrent users on a AAA Overwatch style game? It boggles my mind. It's got to be a case study in a mismanaged launch, I guess.
I think it would be, really, really interesting to find out more about what people thought about when they were doing it, how they proposed it, how they sold it.
Yeah.
To get it going, how they kept it going, what they thought they were making.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had an idea.
Yeah, Forster, you're like comparing it to the failure of Suicide Squad, and people are, but Suicide Squad was a different. I mean, it wasn't in as big of a like a player versus player genre, and it wasn't that great of a game. This, by all accounts, is not a bad game. It's not as pretty as Overwatch. It's not it's not as polished just yet, but for the people that played it, it works perfectly fine. But it's also in a free-to-play market, and I guess that's probably one of the biggest things is you can't come in at $40 into a free-to-play market, and two, you need to do some marketing for your game, because the first time like 99% of the internet heard of Concord was when the article came out that said Concord sales will cease immediately. So rough spot. But you're right. This would make a good documentary on what behind the scenes of Concord. And maybe they'll rise from the ashes as a free-to-play offering, and they'll, people will get into it, and it'll be interesting. But they will also be going up against the Marvel offering, the Marvel version of Overwatch, basically, which is coming out relatively soon. I forgot when it's launching. But Marvel is going to bring to the table all of the Marvel IP. And you'll get to play as Marvel characters and fight as Marvel characters. So again, how Concord, how are you going to market yourself against, the awesome, original, beautiful IP that is Overwatch, or against Marvel? Good luck.
Yeah.
Good
sure.
luck. You know who doesn't need luck? Hello Games does not need luck because they do the work. What did I say? All gas, no brakes. For 8 years, these people have been putting out this stuff. Today, so over the weekend, Sean Murray put out a couple tweets. Again, single emoji. I got to decide if we're going to try to adopt that. I don't think we're not at the level where we can go Sean Murray on our marketing strategy for our game when it's ready.
In all fairness, Sean Murray wasn't on that level when he
took a
did it either.
long time to get there, but it's very aspirational. It's aspirational how they operate at all. They're very inspiring, which is really a cool thing that I keep in mind a lot, and we've talked about amongst our team. So an emoji comes out, and just a couple days later, so this was this morning. So over the weekend, the emojis started to come out, and this morning, this new update dropped, and everybody was, as soon as the emojis came out, everybody's like, okay, well, new update's coming. Is this going to be the Worlds Update Part 2? Because Worlds Update Part 1 was the last big update about 6 weeks ago. We figured, okay, well, it must be Worlds Update Part 2. Nope. It's World Update Part 1, fishing. So they're just adding fishing, so imagine you got into a brainstorming room about how you're going to add fishing to your game, and every cool idea that anyone said, you said yes and did it.
Right.
That's what they did. So there's custom fishing rods that you can get. There's bait that you can craft up to make your fishing better. There's little docks and stuff that you can build. There's a new exocraft, which is their little vehicles, a special exocraft, which is a little pontoon boat that you can build and then float out onto the water. There's deep sea fishing traps that you can put bait in and catch asynchronously, catch fish, rare fish, catalogs of fish, fish missions, message in a bottle. I don't even know what the hell they're talking about. There's so many things in here. And then an expedition on top of it. And I've talked about before, I just love the expeditions, and I can't wait to do this. Probably do it this weekend. The expedition is the little challenge mode, 5 stages, 10 objectives per stage, and each thing you do along the path unlocks a whole bunch of stuff. So you're starting from 0. It's kind of starting a fresh game of NoMansSky. But everything you unlock as you go, as you check off each of the steps, boosts you forward in progression, a bunch. So it's not like you're sort of not grinding out anything. And then this one is very focused on, okay, well, go find your ship. Good. You found your ship. Get it off the planet. Good. You got it off the planet. Okay. Go to this new planet and fish. Okay. You got to the first fishing point. You found the first. Okay. Now here's the next planet. Now find the 5 of these kinds of fish. And so it leads you through trying out all the things. And then they give you the vehicle and say, okay, now fish off your vehicle. Those are the kind of objectives. So the expeditions are really good at leading you through the new content too. Really, really great way to do it.
I mean, that's good too, because, I'm an expert on NoMansSky now because I've played it for 2 hours.
That's right. I forgot you've got it now. You can do the expedition. It's fishing. It's super chill. This is not the last expedition was very combat heavy, which I would not have recommended for you in particular,
right?
As a new player to it, because it can be kind of annoying.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of fishing does appeal to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very chill. Looks very fun. You get this armor set, this deep sea diving armor set if you want it. It's all cosmetic stuff. Lost Angler's rig. You get this fancy fishing pole. You get this little squid bobblehead to put in your starship if you want. This is so cool. Anyway, so Sema will be playing that over the weekend. We'll talk about it next week. And look forward to that. This one I threw in the news because I've been tracking it, and it's a 2025 game. but Mr. Matty Plays, who's, man, he is, this guy is always done great videos, Mr. Matty Plays. He is getting a lot of like, he's big now, so he's getting a lot of insider invites and inside information and good interviews. He had an interview with Todd Howard, just, sat down and chatted with Todd Howard for 45 minutes. He got invited to the Microsoft studios to go check out Avowed. It's Obsidian, right? Yeah, it's Obsidian. To check out Avowed. So Avowed's coming out in 2025. Avowed is an RPG, and it's like a fantasy RPG with a lot of like magic, but also melee. You can use axes, you can use swords, and a lot of it is dual wielding, where you could like be casting magic with one hand and using a sword in the other hand. Or you want to use a wand? Do you want to use two wands? Do you want to dual wield, do two different wands and be like shooting ice bolts, fireballs out of one and ice bolts out of another? So that seems to be what the sort of the twist is on Avowed. And then there's lore and story, and you just, a lot of like little combat like that. Looks pretty interesting. It's a very good interview. I recommend checking it out. Mr. Matty Plays is actually pretty honest in his assessment so far too. He talks about what the good parts are and the bad parts are so far. And he says like the range combat feels really good, but the melee combat does not. It's really kind of floaty, which I could definitely see being an issue, especially in first person. And that was a side conversation I wanted to have about this, because as I've been seeing Avowed, I've been thinking about third person versus first person, especially for this kind of game. And first thing I did after I saw the first trailer for Avowed was Google, tell me, will Avowed have third person? And the answer is yes, which is good, because I do not like first person games. I just I've gotten to the point where I just
Over
don't
the years,
like them.
Yeah, I prefer third person. I always go third person if I have that option.
It's like playing with blinders on. It's like your character now doesn't matter. It's like you've got, your hands or your gun or whatever takes up like a third of your field of view. Why do people like to play a game like that? I mean, people say it's more immersive. That's one argument. There's a couple really good videos. I found a link to a really good video. I should have linked it somewhere, but that talked about for a competitive first-person shooter, you kind of have to be first-person, because third-person camera can give you unfair views of information that you shouldn't have. Like you could be hiding close to a wall, have your camera looking over a wall and see people in the distance that can't see you. So that's unfair information in a competitive environment. Fine. I guess I get it then, but I don't like to play those kind of first-person shooter, PvP games. I don't care if I have unfair information. And I think even though that situation, there's ways you can do it that makes it still work okay and be fair, like Fortnite does, which is the biggest first-person or biggest combat PvP game in the world, and works perfectly fine in third person. But yeah, you don't play first person ever, do you, Sema?
I mean, I did in early days when I first started gaming, but now if I have my druthers, I don't.
It's just a weird situation. The other thing that really gets me in these first person shooters is you spend half of your time looking through a gun scope, which then will like block off another 3/4 of your screen, and you're looking through a tiny tube. I guess all you need to see is the target's forehead, so you can do that headshot. I'd much prefer to zoom that camera out and like see the world and see myself and see what's going on, have some peripheral vision, because I don't like being in first person view and then like suddenly your screen's lighting up because you're getting attacked and you're like spinning around. Okay, what's attacking me? I have no clue because I have no peripheral vision apparently, because I've got blinders on, like a horse on.
I mean, I have that experience even in third person view. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's how I felt in like games like Pal World and stuff. It would be all of a sudden something would be attacking you, and I'd be spinning around, going, "What is it? Where are you?
Yeah,
let me at you."
The last note I had on this that is as part of my TED Talk on first person versus third person is how can these first-person games have character cosmetics? Who
Right.
would ever buy a character cosmetic for a first-person game? You'll never see it. I guess other people see it, so maybe that's what you care about, what other people's experience is. So you pay
Like
money so they have a better experience.
you right. So you see it on your character select screen,
I guess. Yeah.
and they see it in the game.
Right. And you run around and all you see is your hands or your gun taking up a third of the screen.
Yeah.
I can't, it's so hilarious to me. when
Someone
people-
says, "I like your outfit," and you'd have to like, "Oh wait, I forgot what I put on. I have to log out and look."
Or maybe you're completely naked and you'd never know because you can't see yourself. You're just running around completely naked, which is not uncommon for me in MMOs. So see that happening.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but yeah.
What else we got? Couple fun final things. I saw a couple news items earlier this week. I don't know how real this is, but supposedly there's rumors that Half-Life 3 is real, and there's an insider who's explaining why it's definitely being made, and it's coming. It's coming. I know it's only been 20 years, but Half-Life 3 it's in progress. So it's something to watch. We'll see how real this turns out to be, but we'd all like a Half-Life 3, and in theory it would be potentially a sequel to Half-Life Alyx. Half-Life Alyx being the VR sequel to Half-Life 2, which came out, Half-Life Alyx came out, like 5 years ago now?
Something like that.
Half-Life Alyx is amazing. Probably the best RPG in VR. If not, I'm probably in many people's views, the best VR game that exists still today. It is great. I like NoMansSky probably better, but it's a survival game. It's a different game. They made a VR first game with Half-Life Alyx. All of the controls, everything you do, none of the combat feels floaty because you're not like picking up a baseball bat or like a sword and hitting something with a sword. Because when you do that in VR, there's no feedback. You can have like the controller can vibrate a little bit. So what you're doing is you're using guns to their best advantage. You're using the mag grip thing where if like there's something across the room that you want to grab, you're squeezing the palm grip of the controller and yanking it back, and there's like the magnetic. It's like a force. It's like force pull, but it's a sci-fi version of force pull. And then all of your stats and everything are on your wrist, which again, it's not like stuff cluttering up your field of view or a pause menu to see your stats. It's all immersive in the game. They just did so well with that. And the whole environment is super interactive. Like in a little apartment where you start the game, there's a whiteboard, and then you notice down at the bottom of the whiteboard there's a whiteboard marker. And then you can pick up the whiteboard marker and draw on the whiteboard. No reason. It's not part of the game. I mean, well, it's not part of the narrative, and you could just skip by it. There's bottles, and you can like throw them off the balcony and just watch them break. I just love that. Anyway, that was a really good game. So yeah, we'll keep me updated if anybody finds out if this Half-Life 3 stuff is actually real. If not, it's not just another unconfirmed rumor, unconfirmed leak. That would be good to know. I would love to hear more about that.
Will do.
We're fine.
Hold on. I'm back. Hold on.
Now do we know what that sound was earlier?
Am I going to edit that out of the video? No.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Oh.
I have my headphones back on. My preamp glitched. It's nothing that
Did you hear
big.
me ask if that was what that sound was when we?
No, that wasn't. Because that's not connected to the PC. That's just a preamp on the mic line before it goes into the mixer, which is connected via USB. So I was afraid it was the mixer that just shut off, but that would have been more of a problem.
We have that yet to look forward to.
Yes, to find out whatever that was, that disconnect sound in the pre-show, and Windows going "Billy-doo." That means some USB device just failed. And go ahead, start your podcast, see what happens.
Thanks for letting us know, Windows.
Good deal. Yeah, this last one we'll just flash by it because I don't really care, but it's another one that is just another weird situation. It'd be really interesting to find out what happened behind the scenes. Blue Protocol is a Korean MMORPG. It was kind of a big deal. Everybody was sort of excited about it. I know a lot of people in the West were waiting for the port to come over. Amazon was going to publish it, and it is shut down, and it will not be ported over. It is not. It is shut down. I believe it's shut down in Korea as well, and I think that's why it's not going to be finished. Yeah, or maybe it's just the port that's shut down. Yeah, even the Japanese version is shuttering. So it's Japanese, not Korean? I don't know. I don't even have the whole story apparently, but it's another one where I wanted to keep an eye on these things, on why they succeed and why they fail. Yeah, Vorster's saying it's a Japanese anime style MMORPG. But I know a lot of people that had this on their list and have been waiting for it for quite a while. Oh, well, sad.
Yeah.
Less games is not good. But that's how it rolls. That's how the game industry rolls.
And many others.
And yeah, lots of industries, apparently. One maybe we'll talk about. We've postponed it twice, but maybe we'll talk about GameStop next week. And the crazy things happening there. And should they not be shut down yet? They aren't, but nobody knows why. All right. Thanks, everybody, for following and listening. It's a really fun part of the show to have everyone out there involved. If you need any of the subscribe links for audio or video, everything is up on newoverlords.com. Special thanks to everyone that hangs out with us live here in Twitch or on our Discord, where we talk about fun stuff pretty much all day, every day. Also, don't forget, if you're looking for a big family-friendly gaming community, we've got one that Sema and I play in that you could play in too. It's Alea Iacta Est. That's one of the main places that got me into MMOs over the long term with a persistent gaming group. So it's so fun to be able to continue to be part of that and talk about them from time to time. AIE-guild.org for more on that. All right, Sema.
We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Are we though?
Are we fine? Are we fine? We are fine. And we are so fine. Now, this is not a game for everyone. I'm going to give my whole review, but let's talk about Star Wars Outlaws. That's what we're going to talk about. Because I really, really like this game. I'm having a good time
in that one. Yeah.
It's surprised me how much I'm liking this game. Let me hit loop this video. So, yeah, definitely surprising me how much I like this game, because it is a story. It's a story game. It's an RPG. It's not online. If a game is not online in whatever way, just like a small private server or whatever, for some reason, most of the time that makes it much less fun for me. Of course, maybe that's changing a lot, because I love Starfield now, and that's not online at all. But we have people that we're sharing notes with, and Lars is doing that video series, and we keep trading, screenshots and, stories of what we've done back and forth. So that keeps Starfield feeling at least a little multiplayer-ish.
Yeah. Because that's what you miss when there's no other players is sharing.
Yeah, because if I get some cool loot and I've got nobody to show it to, does it matter?
Right. Right.
If I can't like show it off and have other people go, good for you, then that doesn't matter.
I mean, if other people are not jealous, did you actually get it?
If a legendary drops in the forest and no one's around to see you loot it, did it actually make a sound? Yeah, something like that. So this is a first person, no, not a first person. This is a third person game, very distinctly, which I'm very happy about. And you kind of need to have it be a third person game, but it's an RPG. It's a story driven RPG, and I like it. And again, I thought I would enjoy it, but wouldn't love it. I'm kind of loving it. I'm loving it.
So what would you say you love about it? I mean, I know it's a lot of stealthing around and stuff like that.
That's the part I thought I wouldn't like.
Yeah,
And
me too.
Because I'm liking that and I'm sort of gotten into it, it makes all the parts that I love, which is like the atmosphere and the story and the art, and Nyx and KVS. It makes all of those things shine without any of the downsides of not enjoying the gameplay. I didn't finish either of the Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order games because I didn't like the gameplay.
Right.
I don't like wall running. I don't like the extreme platforming. I don't like this nearly Souls-like fights in that game. It's fine. It wasn't bad. But it's just not the kind of game I want to just spend lots and lots of time in.
Right.
This game, I haven't gotten to spend as much time in as I wanted to. And I've probably played about a third of the game now, if not half. In fact, I've probably played half of the main story because I've got maybe a little under half. It's a heist story. And I'm a sucker for a heist story too. So it's, KVS gets herself into a jam and there's a big crime boss now that's put a hit out on her. And, so there's another, a funder of a job, another undercover underground guy gets in touch and says, hey, I got a job for you. And if you do this, there'll be enough money in it for all of us that you can buy your way out of your troubles.
Isn't that always the way?
And so KVS says, as you do in every heist story, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
Just one more job and then I'm going straight.
And then what do you do next in every heist story? Well, you got to put your team together, right?
Right.
So she's got to get 4 members of her team. Well, the first member comes with the start of the job, and it's a robot like the Alan Tudyk robot from Rogue One.
Not George Clooney, huh?
No. You think we need one more? You think we need one more? That's Ocean's 11. With Brad Pitt always eating in every scene. That is a great movie. Ocean's 11 especially. All the Ocean's movies are pretty good, but Ocean's 11 in particular. But yeah, so you have to go get your team members, and that's super fun. So I've gotten 2 of the 4 team members so far. I've gotten through 3 of the 5 planets so far. And when I say I've gotten through, only main story. Because I was trying to get through to see enough of the game to be able to talk about it today, I was bypassing a lot of side stuff that I was disappointed I was bypassing. So that's another great part of this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So detailed, the towns. And then when you're walking down, walking down the streets in one of the towns because you have to go to the canteen to meet with somebody will be like, hey, you're KVS. Come here. And I'm like, no, I got to go see the main story, but I'll come back and talk to you later. Because there's a lot of that that will take you off on little side stories. And they're all rewarding. It's very cool. But just overall, the description of the game, it is not a first-person shooter. It is not a combat-focused game. It's very stealth-heavy. In some missions, it's forced stealth. You can't be discovered. There's always the option to shoot a couple people to shut them up and still continue this stealth mission. But if any of the NPCs get to one of the alarm, panels on the walls, and you haven't disabled it ahead of time, it fails the mission. You have to start over. So And there's not like you have one weapon and it's your blaster, and you can upgrade your blaster, and you do, and that's a fun thing to do along the way to sort of continuously upgrade the blaster. But you don't like, you can't like turn it in for a, like a big, a bigger hand cannon or a,
Right.
or a flamethrower or this.
There is, the way I hear that is there's not an actual gear grind.
Both that, and then it's also a criticism that people have, like, well, I don't want to fight with a blaster. I want to fight with a bowcaster, or I like rifles instead of, blasters. Why can't I play with that? And so it's that kind of thing that people have criticized. That, yes, that's a downside. So if you don't like Kay's blaster, then you're in a little bit of trouble, because you'll always come back to Kay's blaster. The one flip part of that is if any of the enemies drops a gun during a battle, you can pick it up and use it temporarily during that battle. Kay will always drop it, though, not long after, like when you need to climb up something or squeeze through a wall.
It doesn't go into your inventory, and later on you have to decide which thing is better for which fight and all that.
Nope, you only got one little holster, and you have cosmetic skins for your holster and cosmetic skins for your blaster, but you can't fit one of those big grenade launchers. You can't fit that in your holster. Don't even try it.
As someone who's always struggling with inventory in Star Wars: The Old Republic and in WoW, that sounds kind of freeing, actually.
Yes, doesn't it? And you don't have to worry about it. Also, I've resorted to looking things up. I haven't watched any videos on 5 things before you start in Star Wars Outlaws.
Right.
I haven't watched any of those videos. I haven't watched any of the best builds to get, to not hamstring yourself and not suck in the late game, in this game. No need for any of that, because you just got the blaster and you have Nyx. And Nyx is the your little pet. So I'll talk about him in a second, but a huge part of the game, really, really well rendered and super, super cute. But yeah, very story driven too, which
I'm sort of glad to hear you like Nyx, because I know you have a little bit of a misgivings about like whatever the cute character is in the current Star Wars, show, book, whatever that we're talking about.
Yep. When it's only there to only be cute, I definitely have a problem with it. Because it's like, okay, I see what you did there. You want to sell some action figures and some plushies. Fine. Provide a little comic relief from here to there. Nyx is very intelligent. You never play as Nyx, which I also appreciate. I think you and I talked about that. I don't want to I don't want to be the mouse droid and now I don't even have any weapons and I got to run around and go bloop bloop and.
Right. I'll shout at them.
But you do get to suggest to Nyx. I think Forster said in the chat room is sort of like a really good way to phrase it. Nyx is more of a partner than a pet. So he's very intelligent. He communicates to you. He can he can. So he did this thing. Yeah, I was walking through an alley, right, and Nyx all of a sudden starts running off and looks back at me, and there's no dialogue or pop up that says, "Oh, red text on the screen. Oh, you better follow Nyx." And I didn't have to, but I was like, "What is it doing?" So I'd start to follow it, and it keeps leading me on. Climbs up, basically a little bit of parkour, a little bit of there's mild platforming in the game, but a little parkour, a lot of platforming, and he led me to a buried treasure. So he's got some agency and personality of his own, definitely, that comes into play. But the most use is you also kind of use him as a tool. And you can press Q on your keyboard, and there's a bunch of things in the environment that then light up that you can send Nyx to either do, or I think this is it. I think is telling him where to go. No, we're playing some of the video of what's going on while this is going on. But you can send him to okay, go press that button, and that button's gonna set off an alarm that's gonna make all of the bad guys go pay attention somewhere else so I can sneak around. Or here she's having Nyx go behind a gate that you can't reach, but there's a hole where Nyx can go to go loot a treasure or open a gate. You can send Nyx into combat, kind of. You can say, Nyx, go jump on that guy's face. And it's kind of a CC then. So if there's two stormtroopers, Nyx jumps on one of their faces, and you can shoot the other one, and then you can shoot the one that Nyx is kind of CCing. You can make Nyx, and you want to do this, pickpocket. You find people to pickpocket, you find targets, and you say, Nyx, go see what you can get. And he runs up there, sneaks up behind him, super well animated, sneaks up, pickpockets him, runs back, and brings you whatever the treasure is. And it's fun, and it's fun every time I use Nyx. It's not annoying, so that's also a really good thing. Yeah, so Nyx is really done that way, really well done. And then the final part of the game, of course, is it's very story driven. It's a big cast of characters. It's this heist story going on. You get to know some of the characters. Some of them are part of your team. Some of them are helping you out along the way. You have like a mentor that you start the game with that you kind of like leave behind, who could like sort of give you a place to stay. I already got double crossed once by somebody I kind of trusted in the story, and I liked that. You meet up with some people that, you know, you sort of like brush up against a lot of these factions. And that's the main core of the game, is you're brushing up against the Pikes and the Hutt Cartel. And it's, you know, actually, I haven't talked to any Hutts yet. I think you will, but it's like all the people who work for the Hutt Cartel, and all the races that are typical of, you know, part of the Hutt Cartel. So there's the Pikes and the Hutt Cartel, and the Crimson Dawn is another, you know, underworld faction. And then there's that underworld boss guy who's the main villain, who I think is a perfectly fine villain. I think he's characterized and well rendered enough, and there was some criticism like he wasn't scary enough or something. I think he's done well characterized.
Like maybe he's menacing more than he is like scary.
Yeah. I mean, he's not like a Sith Lord with a scary mask, you know, named Darth Scary Face. So just because he's not named Darth Be Scared of Me doesn't mean he's not actually a menacing character. I know that's usually the signal to be afraid of someone in a Star Wars story. I don't know why Siths telegraph their intentions with their names constantly. Darth, I'm gonna kill you. So you're saying I shouldn't trust you? No, that's just my name. Has nothing to do with I'm Darth Vader. Hey, doesn't that mean father in German? No. What? Huh? Are you my what? No. You don't have to worry about that. Imperials, plenty of Imperials. And then you run into a lot of like choices that matter with the factions besides the story, because you sort of need to progress the story and do this heist story. You get a lot of choices that matter in that, you know, you get to a decision point in a, you know, you had to like steal this treasure, you find the intel that they needed you to steal or whatever, and then you can like bring it back to the Crimson Dawn to ask you to do it, or turn it over to the Pikes because it's, you know, it's more valuable to them. And whatever you do raises and lowers your faction score with that appropriate faction, to the point where if your faction is low enough, you know, I think like right now I'm shoot on sight to the Pikes. They don't like me. I didn't like them. I don't like the Pikes. I liked the Boba Fett show. Did you watch the Boba Fett show?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I liked the Boba Fett show. It kind of gets criticized and sort of thrown under the bus a little bit. There was some parts of it especially that I really liked. But one thing I didn't like in the Boba Fett show that I wasn't supposed to like was the Pikes. They're bad guys. So I rubbed up against the Pikes in this game, and I was like, no, I'm not helping the Pikes. They suck. So they're mad at me, but then that does affect the rest of the gameplay, because in every town, there are zones of the town, like buildings and back alleys, that are all controlled by that faction. And if you're in bad with that faction, you can't go in there without, them either like, shooting you, or if you're only like in poor rank, they'll like grab you and throw you out. Throughout the story, you're still required to go into various factions areas to go get stuff, to go get intel, to go get a piece of gear that, like a piece of equipment that you need. So a fun part of the game that you can also mess around with is, well, if I need to do a bunch of stuff in the Pike's territory, I could go to the cantina and do a bunch of side jobs and sort of get on their good side. Because if you're on the good side with a faction, then it's easier to rob them blind. Which you can do. You can like go into their compound then, and you can just like loot everything. There's tons of stuff in there to loot. You can also sneak around and sneak in there and still loot stuff and get your job done. But then it becomes like a pretty heavy stealth mission every time you need to go do it. But yeah, it's like all of those kinds of things, which you have to like that kind of game to enjoy that gameplay. But then if you do, you're going to have a great time because the characters, the environments, every little detail is just so well rendered. I really love it. I'm sorry, as I said, I'm surprised. I'm surprised I'm liking it so much because I kind of bounced off of the Jedi Survivor games, which are really, really good with good stories. But as I said, I'm a sucker for a heist story. So
It sounds like you like the stealth aspect too,
Mhm.
instead of finding it a negative.
I did. That's one time. So there was one time I did look up a video. So some of it is kind of annoying and hard, especially if you're not used to sort of how it works in this game, because there's tricks you learn along the way. You learn like extra places you can hide. You learn like if one guy does discover you, well, you could have disabled the alarm panel, or you could shoot that person before they set off. So there's things you have to like learn to get good at it. But I was in an Imperial hangar, and I landed my ship in there, and my partner was on the ship, like talking to them about our cargo, BSing them about our cargo, so I could like sneak in and do what I needed to do. But you're landed in the middle of an Imperial hangar with stormtroopers all around, and I was trying the hard way, basically, to try to stealth around the outside and like hide in these, these steam vents where they can't see me, and just, like knock out a couple of the stormtroopers. And I tried it like 3 or 4 times and kept getting discovered every time. And that one, if the alarm goes off, then the mission's over and you got to restart it. So that got frustrating. I looked at the video, and the video said, oh yeah, right when you get off that cart right there, just start the cart and just sort of like hide behind it while it walks forward, and you're done in 2 seconds. That was so there's a lot of like the way you're supposed to do it that could be seen as a flaw in this game too. You can't free climb on anything. There's only certain places you can climb. And in a lot of places there might be a couple paths to get to your objective, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like infinite paths, do it any way you want. So people might feel like you're sort of being railroaded a little bit in that way, but I didn't mind it because especially since I started to learn these tricks and learn what to do and where to go, it got easier and easier, and then more fun as I was going, and then not minding the stealth missions, and then also sort of liking them. So yeah. Because I haven't played a lot of stealth games. Have you were ever big into like stealth games back in the day?
Well, I feel like maybe I don't know, because I play a lot of stealth characters,
Mm-hmm.
but they aren't. It isn't so much stealth puzzles in a way, like sounds
Right.
like you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, in the MMOs, you can stealth through interesting content that isn't designed to, like a stealth game is designed to trip up the stealth character, and you need to puzzle out the right way to do it. Whereas if you're a rogue, or if you're an operative in Star Wars: The Old Republic and you stealth, you have to avoid the couple things that will unstealth you, but there's not a puzzle. If
Right.
like that,
Right.
you can just like stealth around. So yeah, maybe I'm gonna like stealth games. Maybe Assassin's Creed next whatever thing samurai game, which is coming out soon, which is also on Ubisoft Plus. Oh, side comment. I've even like heard on a couple podcasts people talking about. Well, I didn't want to. I didn't want to spend the $70 to try out Star Wars Outlaws. Don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
$18. $18 for Ubisoft Plus. And then while you've got it for that month and you play some Star Wars Outlaws, you can also play Far Cry 6. And you can play Avatar Frontiers of Pandora.
Yeah.
And you can play Skull and Bones. And all of those are very good games. I don't care what ignore Metacritic. Metacritic even downgraded this game, and because the critics are like, well, Ubisoft, since it's a AAA studio, since it's BioWare or Ubisoft, if it doesn't also cure cancer, we're gonna have to give it a 5. If this was like an indie studio, this would be like, if this was what's her name that did Baldur's Gate, this would be like game of the year.
Marion. Yeah.
Incredible on how we don't even understand how this is possible. Ubisoft, yeah, they suck. So automatic -2 points from every score.
Yeah, I mean it's too bad. I wish everyone got a fair shake, even the big guys.
Yeah, but they shake it off. They're used to it, both Bethesda and Ubisoft. And I've seen some interviews. Like I think I just saw a headline quote from the game director for Star Wars Outlaws that was like, "Yeah, we're a little disappointed in the Metacritic scores, but we're full steam ahead. We've got a lot more planned, and we've had a lot of fun with this, and we love the success that we have."
Yes, they do. They're public-facing people, have the skill to shake it off, but not everybody, I bet.
Right. It's a big team of people that have poured their hearts and souls into this.
Right.
And for you to just
And
say,
shaking it off is a skill. I mean,
oh, gun plays bad, gun, shooting is better in Fortnite, so this game sucks, is like, yeah, but did you see the
it
animations?
trivializes.
I
Yeah.
spent 2 years of my life animating Nyx, and you don't like that you don't get a bigger gun, and you're going to say that my work sucks because of it? Makes me sad.
Yeah.
I'm going to go cry myself to sleep. Yeah. So many little things in this game are just so fun. Oh, I wanted to tell you about the cooking game, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, the food mini game.
Yeah, where is it? I have a link to a little bit of video on it. So there's this little side thing. So I'm walking through town, and I come across what looks kind of like a food stall, almost like a food truck, but it's it's just like a little counter. You see it in a lot of these kinds of games. You see it in like it's like a Blade Runner. Cyberpunk 2077 has them all. It's just a little food counter, food booth. You walk up to it and you say, "What do you got?" And I didn't know what this was. Again, I didn't look anything up. I didn't know what this was. I said, "Lay it on me. What do you got?" And they're like, "Oh, it's like a little, this is like a little food dish and you can buy it." So I'm like, "Fine, buy it." It starts this combination cinematic and a tiny bit of a mini game inside of a cinematic with a really cool reward at the end. The cinematic with the sounds and the music and this robot cooking up your meal, and then like the camera pans back and all of these different camera views and camera shots, and Nyx is like jumping on your shoulder, all excited about the food getting cooked. It's incredible. It's amazing. It's such a beautiful little cinematic. And then the dish gets served, and it's a different dish every time. And I think there's probably only about like 6 or 7 or maybe 10 of these that you can do. And they're kind of the same. They play out the same every time. But the dish gets served, and it's like this first one is the one I got to that's on the video. It's like these corn cobs on a hot grill, like a table-side grill, and then this like little soup bowls on either side. And it's like one side for you, one side for Nyx, and it's all animated. And then there's a little mini game that comes up too, is like while you're eating, you need to like press the button when Kay takes a scoop so it goes into her mouth correctly or whatever it is. And then she's got to like blow on the fire to pop the corn kernels. And you got to like press 2 keys quick to make her, heat up the fire enough. So the game part of it, the press the buttons when it says to press A, that's a minor part of it and not all that interesting. But the cinematic part of it is so well rendered and fun that I just love sitting there watching it. And Nyx is just so cute. So like here, that's sort of like a popcorn kernel start popping, and then you have to press a button, and then Nyx, if you press it in time, then Nyx bites it out of the air and catches it in his mouth. It's like so super cute. And then I didn't even realize this. What your reward for doing this, like the little mini game and getting through it, besides just the cuteness of the whole cinematic, and having the little meal with you and Nyx, is what's called a Nyx treat. So when you go back to your spaceship, there's a little place on the counter where you can put down a little bowl of food for Nyx. So the way you equip Nyx these things for Nyx is you put that bowl out on the ship, and you can swap it out if you've got other dishes that you could give to Nyx. So if you finish this one, you get this Nyx treat, and you can put it out. While it's out there as his treat bowl, it gives him a different ability. So it's almost like an equipment slot for Nyx that gives him a special ability, which is great because it was actually a really useful ability. Then I'm like, oh, this is a really cool reward too. So yeah, I was amazed by this little effect, and the camera work and the graphics and the animation for all of the work just put into this alone just shows the quality of effort that they've put into this game, and I really appreciate it.
Like I saw a quote from the voice actor for KVS that she thought she had recorded something like 11,500 and some lines for this.
Yes.
I mean, just that is so much work. And that's one small part of these games. So much work goes into them.
She had I think a YouTube short out there where she's doing she's recording voice lines for KVS fight scenes. And she's doing, it's just her going, ugh, like punch. She's like acting out the punch moves while she's making the grunt sounds. And it made me think that it is a big part of the voice acting. How many hours of a voice actor's time is spent saying words versus how many hours of their time is spent
versus grunts.
Grunts and moans and like, yeah. Okay. Now you get punched in the face. Ugh. Okay, now you get punched in the face with the back of a gun. Now you get punched. We hear that stuff all the time in Star Wars: The Old Republic, and we're always like, man, these guys that we're fighting, they're really having a bad time, aren't they? Because they're all like, But yeah, that had to be hours and hours in the voice booth of, okay, can you do it again? But this time, imagine that you got punched in the throat this time. All right, now you got punched in the eye and the throat. Okay. I guess I'll do that. But yeah, it was funny to watch her do that. We talked about this last week, but is KVS, I saw those sort of like that discussion, those headlines really die down. So maybe it was like a fake bit of outrage early on, which was KVS isn't pretty enough. Why do they have to, why did they have to ugly up the character for the game when the voice actor herself is really, really cute.
Yeah.
A beautiful woman. I think KVS is great.
Why does what the voice actor look like even enter into it?
Well,
one way or the other.
A lot of the voice actors in the game, and another one I'll talk about in just a second, very much look like the characters look like the voice actor.
Which is a coincidence. I get that.
Yeah,
but
you're right. It doesn't have to be.
Right.
So here's the voice actor for Illyra, which caught my eye because I recognized it. She plays a Twi'lek in the game that's part of the Crimson Dawn. She's like a contact for you to talk about in the Crimson Dawn. And I recognized her face just by looking at the Twi'lek. I'm like, I know that actor. She played the cop in The Expanse. Her name's Athena Karkanis. She played Miller's cop friend in The Expanse in season 1 of The Expanse.
Right.
She's done a ton of other things too, but that's what I recognized her from. She's also done a ton of voice acting, including she's the voice of the female Jedi Consular in all of Star Wars The Old Republic.
Sweet.
Which is super cool. So that's a game we obviously...
But I mean, I don't want to let this go yet, because this week I was thinking a lot about Darren DePaul, because he's so fantastic. And he's so fantastic. His persona, his work, his body of work is so fantastic. And his actual personage is so fantastic, as evidenced by people who've met him in cantinas and at BlizzCon.
Yeah.
He doesn't look a thing like his characters.
No.
But nobody says a thing about that.
Right. And maybe that's why this is partially fake outrage.
And I was thinking about him because there's a character in The War Within, which I just became convinced was voiced by him. So I was I was combing the internet for validation, and I didn't find any, so I might be wrong on that. But that's why I was thinking of him, and it reminded me how awesome he is, because while I was looking around, I saw a bunch of accolades, and there's so much love for him from the community.
Yeah, but you're right. Nobody's like, oh, why didn't you make it look like Darren DePaul?
Right.
Nobody's like,
why did you ugly up his character?
Yeah, why does Valkorion look like that and not look like Darren DePaul does in real life? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe and maybe it's all fake because nobody's really talking about it anymore. And Kate, the character, she looks, her hair is kind of scruffy, and but she's still super cute. She's a fun character, and she's not ugly by any means. She's just not a supermodel because she lived in an alley and climbs through dumpsters literally in this game.
She's lived a life, man.
She lived in a dusty attic above a cantina, and it's pickpockets. She's a petty thief. Yeah. Okay, so there's my summary review of Star Wars Outlaws.
Petty thief with aspirations to be major thief.
Yes, she's got the opportunity to go big. We'll see if she survives. She's going up against some heavy hitters. Never know what can happen, Sema.
I feel good about it. I think she's going to survive.
Do you have a really good feeling about this?
I don't want to
have a bad feeling.
I don't want to give it a mouth.
That is Star Wars Outlaws. Why don't you give us a little bit of an update, though, because I've got a couple questions for you because I haven't played it since we talked last, because I've been all of these other things going on.
You got stolen away
War Within.
Yeah. So one thing that I tried this week that I hadn't tried previously, and I don't know if these are new with the War Within or if they had them in Dragonflight, but it's follower dungeons. And I just kind of fell in love with this concept because, I'm a little bit averse to playing group content with strangers.
Right.
And partially it's because if I don't know the content, then I feel like I'm going to be a drag on the team, and I don't want to go through that. So now we have this is an opportunity to go to, and it works in every dungeon basically. I don't know if there's any dungeons where there's not a follower version. And what that means is you can queue for it solo, and then you get 4 companions, and they're the same ones every time. The tank is always a pally, the DPS is a shaman and a hunter, and I go in as the healer, and then there's another DPS, a mage. And I was kind of amazed by it because my first experience with it, you can choose whether you want to lead the party or you want the party to lead, which essentially means the tank. So I pushed the button and said, okay, you lead. I've never been here before. Plus, I'm used to following, and I'll just keep you alive. And I was really amazed because the tank behavior was very intuitive for me. Like, she would do things like she would not run forward until I caught up to her. I don't think it was a time thing. I think it's like they wait for you to be a certain proximity. There were even some pulls where she LOS'd. They used line of sight to pull the mobs out of a room. The DPS, they actually perform the mechanics. it's not that they never take any damage, but they're performing. Not only are they performing the mechanics, they're teaching you the mechanics,
And
which
they're
is
like not
valuable.
standing in fire, I assume,
They're not
which
standing in fire,
right
and
there
sometimes
like makes them far superior than like 90% of other DPS, myself included.
and when you stand in the fire, they don't say anything to you.
Yeah, they don't say, "The hell are you doing? I'm not healing in you anymore." They don't like vote to kick you when you stand in fire.
They'll even say, "Oh my gosh, we have to get these candles to the fire," or something like that. So they'll like give you little hints on what the mechanics are. And if you don't know where to go, and you're not moving, sometimes occasionally they'll say, "We need to get downstairs," or "Look before you leap," or some little sort of semi-enigmatic thing to say so that you know where to go next. If you're not letting the tank lead you. So my experience with that first dungeon I did was very positive. And then I did another dungeon, which I had kind of like a the opposite experience where the tank never seemed to know where to go. And I think what it was I pushed the button for the tank to be the leader, but I don't think it took.
Oh,
So like they were in this confused state where they were waiting for me, but I was waiting for them, and then I would go the wrong place and I would pull the wrong things. And I went and read about this dungeon afterwards, and it's actually a dungeon that's fraught with problems even when people play it.
okay.
So yeah, and it's a cool idea
Well,
where you're trying to save a ship, and then you have to fly over to other ships.
oh, I didn't do that
But
one yet.
what's not really clear is that while you're in this dungeon, you have this buff part of the time that allows you to mount up and fly even if you're in combat.
Oh,
So like if
okay.
the NPCs are saying, "We must fly away," I'm like, "Well, I'm waiting to be out of combat," but no, you have to
Right.
fly right away. And it doesn't work with druid flight forms, so you have to like
Oh,
I
that's
found
weird.
that out eventually. I had to like mount up on a regular mount to fly away. And so that's a death thing. Like the boss is casting something that's going to kill you if you don't fly away. And I was like,
Yeah.
not flying away. So you
Oops.
have to go from ship to ship, and then you go back to this other ship, and then you go back to the original ship, and then you go down to the land and to another area. Um, and you had to follow a shuttle to get down to the world. And if you got too far behind it, then you got despawned and you had to
Yeah.
go back. But there are save points, so you don't have to do the whole dungeon over. You go back to a save point.
Oh, that's nice.
So after I finished that one, I was like, oh, I'm sorry I started it. But then when I read afterwards that it was problematic, I mean, there's still some work to do on that dungeon. I felt better. Then I went and I did a third one a couple days later and had another like really super smooth experience. I just really love this. It's like perfect for me because I get to learn a little bit. I get to be I can do it even if I'm in my antisocial phase.
Right. Or if it's
I don't have
coffee
to.
and contemplation time and you don't have
Right.
your friends aren't online.
Right. And you don't have to do right when your friends aren't online. You don't have to do it necessarily when the server's busy. You can do it on your own schedule, and you can learn. You can try different things out with your class too. Like I've been sort of
That
working
sounds
on my
great.
rotation, trying to get my rotation more muscle memory. It's not really a rotation for healing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Combinations and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really made me want to play more follower. I'm sure I'll get sick of them, just like you can get sick of anything if you play enough of it. But um,
The opportunity to learn healing that way just seems so mind-blowing. If you
yeah, and
have
there's
the DPS and a tank that are actually like doing the AI is doing the things, which when you said, like the tank is actually like leading and line of sighting, that's mind-blowing. That's awesome. But it's hard to learn healing. That just seems like such a great opportunity.
and the shaman the shaman and the pally, the tank and one of the DPS will throw off heals too, like between pools. Um,
They're
it's
gonna put
crazy.
real players out of business.
Well, you can only play in normal mode, so if you want to go heroic
Mhm.
and get into mythics and all that stuff, you need to go play with actual people. But I love playing with actual people too.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Um,
friends.
but this just feels
Even pugs
it's
are fun
this
sometimes.
kind of scratches an itch, you know.
Yeah.
Like when I read the first one, I was like thinking, "Oh, I found my people, and they're not even real people."
You guys are the best.
Right? You guys are the best.
You guys want to go grab a burger sometime? You guys going to BlizzCon? We could meet up.
Ugh.
Thank you, traveler. But just to remember, we are not real.
And another thing that nothing to do with it's kind of a follow-on to the follower dungeons is I kind of enjoyed that. It kind of got me more into the game. And I said I wasn't going to do this, but I started trying to learn how to do the crafting here, which I
Yeah.
literally was not going to do it. And now I think maybe that follower dungeon experience kind of a combination of things kind of made me more like, oh, I want to be more a part of this world. And so I've been trying to sort of piece together how crafting works, and it's a lot. I mean, there's different things you have to do. There's like specializations, and I mean, I just went for it, and I've been noticing like early on mistakes that I've made. Like if I wanted to do it differently, I might not have done this specialization first, and then
And
but each
what
special
professions did you say that you're
I'm
doing?
doing alchemy and herbalism, which
All
I think
both on one character or
on one character, which those two I think alchemy could be I don't know if this is true or not, but I thought it was going to be alchemy would be like one of the simpler of the crafting ones, and then herbalism is just herbalism, right? You
oh
go,
yeah,
but
yes, yes.
it isn't just herbalism. You do a lot of you do fly around and pick herbs, but there's also specializations within herbalism. And one of the things that make
Yeah.
and then there's levels of herbs, like you can go they have like 1 diamond, 2 diamond, 3 diamond. And if you want to make like a level 3 potion or flask, then all the materials that you use have to be the 3 diamond version. And I don't really understand what goes into how you get the 3 diamond version of herbs. I know that there's like stats that you try to get better at, like there's finesse and there's um
Yeah, somebody was saying there's like more stats for crafting and gathering these days than there are for like your main character.
right, like for alchemy, I bought a hat and a robe and a stick that I equipped, and oh, I didn't equip them. I forgot to equip them, but they give me more of those stats. And
Interesting.
one of those is made by tailors, one of them's made by leatherworkers, and and the stick is made by inscriptionists. So there's this sort of like, they've always tried to make the craftings kind of depend on each other.
Right.
So there's a little bit of that. Um, there's a million different potions and flasks you can make. And it's another time where you mostly learn your stuff via discovery. So there's that random
Okay.
thing, which some people enjoy. It's not my favorite thing, but um, if I want to make the flasks that I'm going to use when I raid, I have to be lucky, essentially.
See that's yeah, I don't like that because I will
Right.
have like all of the flasks of suck. And it won't be until like the expansion's over that I'll get the flask of actually useful.
Right, right. And that's kind of why I decided to get into this now during the second week of the X pack so that I could not have that
Yeah.
so much. Um, and I also decided to like try and spend, like you get outside of crafting, you get all kinds of different like currencies and things that you click on to expand this or do this or whatever. I'm just spending it all and clicking on it all because maybe it's not the best thing. Maybe I should have done my bracers instead of my shoulders, but it's better than, coming up to the first dot release and now the currency I have is, useless.
Right. Right. Or yeah. Or coming back again, as we keep saying, in 2 years and seeing a thing in your bag and going, what the hell is this?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Even cooking is complicated like this. Fishing is let me see, fishing doesn't seem to have a specialization. So fishing just fishing. But I think it's valuable because you can fish up things that you can use for cooking.
But I heard stealth fishing is like you can't just like passively. You can't like not pay attention anymore because doesn't like bad things happen sometimes and like
No,
monsters come and bite you and
no.
you can't
But I mean,
like fish up a.
you've never been able to fish so AFK that you wouldn't know if you fished up a monster.
Uh,
But anyway, no, I
I
haven't
could.
run into. Okay.
Because it would like ding when the if you had an add-on that it would like ding when the bobber goes off. You cast, hover your mouse over the bobber, and then go watch YouTube. And then when you hear
No,
the ding, you click, and then you look back to cast and push your mouse over the bobber, and then you
right.
watch
And
YouTube.
I'm saying that if a monster,
Yeah, I guess if a monster pops up, then
ginned when you clicked, then yes,
yeah, it's not
you'd
like you're
see it.
actually AFK.
Right.
You're right. Yeah, I would. Yeah, you could still probably watch YouTube. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't like the
Yeah.
fishing in games where it's like every cast is a mini game and you're like, you're
Yeah.
clicking once per second the whole time. It's like if I can't watch YouTube while I'm fishing, is it really fishing?
Yeah.
So we'll see how they do it in NoMansSky. I'll be talking about that next week. We'll see what my review of the fishing is there.
One side effect of the warbands, which we talked about last week, warbands are like every character that you have on your account is part of your warband, so you can all have access to. It's like legacy storage in Star Wars: The Old Republic, and like Star Wars: The Old Republic. Now, when you craft, you can use mats that are in your warband bank, and so that's been also sort of freeing.
That's great.
Yeah. I still remember when WoW first went to, you could have your mats in your bank, and that was fantastic. And now as long as you do the step on the other characters of depositing it in the bank, like in Star Wars: The Old Republic, as an example, you don't even have to do that, right? It deposits it for you.
Yeah.
It's already there that everyone can access it. So it's just good to have. And I also noticed in the War Within, and maybe it was like this in Dragonflight, but there is a lot of transmog available, and it's high quality transmog, and it's complete sets. And by transmog, I mean cosmetic gear that you can apply to real gear to change your look, customize your look. And so
WoW has always been really good about the amount of gear and looks and the quality of the looks that you can apply. The one thing that, well, I guess you can configure an outfit, but you have to like pay every time that you put it on, right?
Yeah. Basically, you
because you're transmogrifying a piece of gear, which is weird.
Yeah. So every time you get an upgrade, you have to retransmogrify it. So
I heard somebody saying like WoW is the best transmog system out of all the MMOs. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like they have the highest quality gear and like art potentially, but SWTOR's outfitter system is so nice.
But it needs, what Star Wars: The Old Republic needs is they need to have the storage for all that stuff. So that gives WoW an edge for me. It's like once you learn a cosmetic thing, it's stored for you. You don't have to keep it in your inventory anymore. You can just go vendor it.
Anything that, which is not everything, but anything in collections for Star Wars, like anything you'd buy from the cartel market, anything that you'd buy off the auction house that's in the cartel market goes into collections, and then you don't need to store it. But you do need to pull a physical piece out. But once you create the outfit, you don't need the physical piece anymore. So as long as you don't
unless you go, oh, I like this vest. I'm gonna use this on
for a second outfit.
Yeah, or for another character. Then you're like,
I would love the WoW, basically just the catalog of every possible item you've ever, worn. You now have it, credited to a codex catalog of.
The other thing that Star
really
Wars
nice.
has, and I think, and Guild Wars 2 has this too, is the ability to dye your gear different colors.
Yeah, they don't have that in WoW, I guess.
No, in WoW, it's more that you can.
That's right.
You can buy reskins of the same suits in different colors, but it's still the artist's idea of that suit and their selected colors that they want to give you.
Yeah, and the new
And then
dyes in Star
Forrester in
Wars:
the
The Old
chat room
Republic
is
are so cool.
yeah. Star Wars is saying Elder Scrolls Online is even better. So I'm not familiar with that system, but I'm guessing there's some kind of customizing in there, like dyes.
I've forgotten how it works. I do remember like getting a nice armor set, a cosmetic set, but that was like a cash shop skin that I just like slotted as all one piece in ESO. But I'd have to look it up. I like the outfitter. I like the outfitter system, but you're right. I like the gear collection in WoW as being really nice too. And
I
the
think
dyes in
what's
Star
kind of
Wars are getting really
amazing
good.
about the current retail state of WoW is just how much transmog there was. Like starting from classic, it was always, that you, in order to get a look, you had to like earn that gear and then you had to equip it. And then they slowly started making these cosmetic items, but even then you had to like switch them out for your gear. And then if you were going to fight, you had to put your real gear back on. And then like, the fishing hat and things like that, or like a wedding dress or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they started making, this ability to transmog, which is you stamp the look onto your real gear, and then you don't have to remember to, put your real gear back on. And it's just each iteration has had this like sort of mind-blowing expansion. And now you could just buy these whole you do a quest and get like a whole set of something.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It
That's
is
pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
There was one last thing you're telling me about, which I remember from with 2 expansions ago, like the puzzles out in the world.
Yeah, so I really like this, but yeah. So sometimes when you open up a treasure chest, because there's a lot of chests out in the world, a lot. And sometimes when you open one, a puzzle pops up on your screen, and it's like a mini game. And then you do the simple puzzle, and then you get the contents of the treasure chest. And I think I might have run into it in some World Quest too, but I'm not sure about that. And I don't know. I just really like it. It's just a fun
Yeah.
a few little moments to do a puzzle.
Yeah, I kind of liked them in. Yeah, it was 2 expansions ago, wasn't it? Did they have them in
Yeah.
Dragonflight at all?
I don't think they had them in Dragonflight or Shadowlands, but you know what? Someone can correct me on that. But when I remember them from is Battle for Azeroth at BFA.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Lucy's saying like the pipes ones and the shuffle the puzzle and unscramble the connected lines, kind of stuff. Yeah, that's. If you need to slow the players down, doing like little interesting things like that, I think is a fine way to go about it. And
It doesn't
maybe
really
give it a
slow you
little more
down, though.
interest than just. I downloaded the add-on, so now I've got the map, so I just go from point to point to point and get every single thing, and now I'm done.
Yeah,
There's that too.
and I don't know if that's what they're thinking too, because it's not like you have to do them.
Right.
There are hundreds, maybe more treasure chests in the game. You do not need to open treasure chests to win at WoW.
Well, no, but like this is saying, I mean, there are profession-related treasures that it's recommended to get for your profession. I've seen a couple of the videos out there. Like, here's another one: the mining
but I don't.
profession guide. What treasures to go pick up?
Yes, but I don't think those are behind puzzles.
Oh, yeah,
Is
maybe
what
not.
I'm saying.
So
Yeah,
cool.
there definitely are treasures you want to go look for because they give you knowledge points, which is something that I never wanted to know what they are, but you have to know what they are.
Oh boy.
Because that's what you spend to get higher in your specializations.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a finite
but
number
that's
of
fine.
them, so
Some
you have to
progression.
find
I
them
mean,
all.
for people that are really into professions to have like a game to play and not just not just like, well, you make 50 of these and you get one more point in in armor crafting, and then make 50 of these, you'll get another point, and now you're maxed out, and now you can like stand in the middle of town and go, anybody need any armor crafted? Yeah.
But I have small brain, and I've had to spend a lot of time trying to figure out. I feel like I kind of did myself a disservice by not trying to learn it in Dragonflight, because now that I want to know it, if I had done it in Dragonflight, I would kind of already know it because it's very similar. There's some changes, but it's very similar to Dragonflight system. And at that time, I'm like, no, this is I'm not into this. But now I am.
Well, here's the basics of professions video from Signs of Kalani, who does really good videos. It's 27 minutes long. Here's the basics. We're going to tell you about the professions. Half hour of going to profession school.
Yeah, it's a half hour, and that's only if you already know Dragonflight. Because in that video he says this works just like Dragonflight.
Yeah, and I'm looking at all this stuff. It's like, and here's another UI, and here's another UI, and
yeah,
what is going on here? And here's more stats, and here's the thing, and here's the okay.
But I really appreciate
every time I log into the game, the lower right of my screen in WoW pops up and says, "You have a profession choice available to you." And I'm like, close.
Yeah. Stop bugging me, will you?
I'm not paying attention.
But I really appreciate all the players who go like on the beta and figure out everything.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was watching this one woman, her content, and basically she made her videos on the beta, but one reason why that was really valuable is she could redo her crafting spec all the time. Like she could fill all her points a certain way and then do a million experiments and then like reset everything and fill her points another way. And I think that's really smart of Blizzard to make that available because you get a better test, and B, it's helpful to me.
Yeah. All right.
And I like watching people talk about it because they say the true thing about it. Like this is going to help you get more of this instead of like the in-game sort of description, which tries to be, of the world. It just says this will make you happier whenever you go by a tree. Right? Like, but that's what you said about the other choice. Also going to make me happy.
Yes.
So like, which one do I pick?
Yeah, the choices. Yeah, whereas a player will tell you, yeah, this is completely useless. Do not pick this choice. Whereas the in-game description is like, of course you'd want to be, do you want to be faster or do you want to be stronger? Both are equally valid. No, they're not.
Yeah, like the choices of specializations in alchemy are alchemical mastery. Why wouldn't you want that? Fantastic flasks, potent potions, and thaumaturgy.
Thaumaturgy? I'll take that. No, don't take that.
Right. Okay. I mean, it's even worse for herbalism. Let me see if I can bring that. It's bountiful harvest, or botany, or overloading the underground. See, those words mean nothing.
Yeah, what does that even mean? Botany versus bountiful harvest. That sounds like the same things to me.
Yeah, bountiful harvest. Their descriptions specialize in gathering the herbs found throughout Kazakh. Well, isn't that what I'm doing already by taking herbalism?
Specialize, yeah. As opposed to mining the mining nodes. What are you talking about?
Botany is study the various plant life found on and around Kazalgar and how to gather them. I thought that's what you just
the
said.
Same thing also. And also the same thing as the base profession. What the hell are you talking about?
Overloading the underground is completely different, but also meaningless to me. Specialize in gathering empowered herbs and overloading them to various effects.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds different, at least, but in an inscrutable way.
Right. So that I
guess I would pick that one because the other two just sound like what I'm already doing. Yeah.
But I do appreciate the human beings who then tell me what those really mean.
Yes.
Okay. I can stop talking now. I know you were trying to close.
No, that was good. Because we certainly will be coming back to War Within. I can't wait till you connect with your team and start doing the raids. It'll be interesting.
Yes, we're like a week and a half away from our first raid night. So.
All right. So they're going to have to wait because you're going to be playing NoMansSky all week this week. So you're going to be a little bit behind still. So might have to.
I'll let
Can't do that. Your team is counting on you. I know. No time for NoMansSky, Dr. Jones. All right. So we'll come back to that. We'll get some group content updates in the future weeks, which will be pretty exciting. I can't wait. Thank you, everyone. I think that's all for us for today. All our feed and subscribe links are on newoverlords.com, and our video is up on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord. It's a fun place. newoverlords.com/Discord, and you'll find all of the information on all of the games that we play and be able to chat about those RPG games that you're playing by yourself so you don't feel like you're alone chopping down trees in the forest with no one around to hear it. You can find that at newoverlords.com/Discord. You can also still, while they exist, follow us on all the social networks, and we'll keep you up to date there too. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.